COVID-19 situation kicks in, barbershops close, you look at your kid and realize it's been months since you got a haircut. Let's talk you through doing it yourself. Quick shout out to my son Matt who did this begrudgingly. Thanks buddy, I owe you one. So what we're going to do with Matt's hair is we're going to damp it first. We're going to create a part so that we know where we're going to cut it. We're going to create a very short to just a little bit short fade with a hard switch to a longer hair on top. So we'll do about an 8 on top. We're going to do that same thing all the way around. Matt's on a little swivel bar stool. So we're going to do that all the way around. When we do the fade, we're always going to be super short at the bottom, but we're going to be a little bit higher at top, and on the sides it will come straight across. On the back it'll come down just a little bit around the back in terms of where we switch into that higher fade. And then after that's all done, Matt's going to take a bath and then he'll style it up and show you the result. Sound good? All right. I'm going to go a little lower so people can see what we're doing. So to get started with, we're going to get it a little damp and we're going to do the part. So to get it damp, I usually just take a brush, put a little bit of water on the brush. You'll see that you're starting to get a little bit of water. You don't want the hair to be wet, like to be dripping wet, because that will make it so that the trimmer itself can pull a little bit on the hairs and it makes the hairs stickier. So we just want enough water to be able to get the part to stay. Okay, so you can see on this side I have established that part. Once I get the water, I'll give it a quick cleanup with a comb. All right, to get the perfect line on the part, comb forward, comb down, and comb up. Okay, now once you've done this the first time, the part will be a little bit easier to find, especially with this haircut, because there's going to be such a difference between the top and the bottom. But getting that part established is really the most important part for this hairstyle. And once we're done with this side, then we're going to turn them around and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's get started. All right, so for my man Matthew, we are going to do a 1 on the bottom, and we're going to fade it up to a 2 at the top, right here, and then this part again, we're all going to do that at 8. So to start it off, I'm going to do the 2. Got a 2 blade. Again, you can go full 2 or kind of like a little bit less. I'm going to open it up all the way to give it the maximum length with the 2. And I'm going to go right up here and take the hair all the way up to that part that we just established. I'm gonna redo this part with a shorter version here in a minute, but just to kind of get it cleaned up so we have our sort of working area, get our canvas established. I'm gonna take all this off at a 2 first. All right, so now you can see this part up here is good. We've got the 2 here nicely established. Now I'm going to turn him and I'm going to work on the other parts of his head so we can get that clean line established. And once we're done with that, we'll come back and we'll do the fade. Okay, so here we go. Now here in the back, we have to deal with his cowlick. Now everybody's going to have a cowlick in a different spot. That's just the natural place where your hair sort of spits off into different directions. You really have to work with that because that's going to determine how the hair falls. So in Matt's case, since we're doing a hard part, we're going to actually part right through the cowlick. So we're essentially going to cut it in half and pull this part down. I'm going to work a nice part there. So we can pull a little more forward. Cowlick comes right through there. Okay. That will make it nice and easy for Matt to comb it. He won't have to worry about dealing with that cowlick. All right, so again, you can see kind of transitions, and then we'll finish this side here in a minute. So I'm gonna go back in with that 2-blade, that 2-guard, and we're gonna come and just take all that off. Now you'll notice this hair sort of naturally falls this direction. So for that hair, you have to go the opposite direction in order to get it. So when you are doing this, not all hairs grow in the same direction. It's doubly true with beards, but you want to make sure that you're always cutting against the grain that the hair goes. And if the hair grows in multiple directions, just go over it multiple different ways. No downside to going over it a few times. All right, and then we'll get that last part. Man, it's been a while since you had a haircut, bud. So most of the time when I cut Matt's hair, these parts are easy to find because we will have just cut it, a few weeks prior. But today, looks like it must have been a month since we gave you your last haircut. Do you remember your last haircut, Matt?
Probably like January.
January? Holy smokes. What is your dad doing? All right. We'll get this. Same trick. Clean line out. Pick one of the grooves. We'll pick this one. Let's pull that up. We'll pull that down. Let me give that a quick look and see. I think we can went a little bit too high on that side. Yeah, a little too high. We're going to pull it down just a little bit further. And measure twice, cut once, because you can't put it back on. Hey Matt, remember that one time I chopped you on accident?
Mm-hmm. 2 times.
2 times. So I'll give you guys some tips when we get to, oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'll give you guys some tips when we get to the close parts. That's where you risk actually, hurting somebody. With these guards, you really can't. But when poor Matt gets chopped, or if I really goof up badly, he gets compensated for the poor barbershop. Now, one thing you'll notice, if you look at it right now, you can kind of see these lines. So that is because I only cut this direction. So you can't get lazy when you're doing this and just cut this way, even though that gives you the straightest line. You can do your first cut that way if you want to really make sure you're getting up into the part. But you need to make sure that you also follow up with cuts that are going this direction against the grain of the hair. Otherwise, you'll have lines that show up in the hair. All right, we're almost there. Can you look down for a second, buddy? All right, so we are finished setting up the foundation of the haircut. You can start it, you can see it start to come together. He's got long hair on the top. He's got nice short sides. He's probably getting annoyed with me spinning him around. And now what we're gonna do is the fade. So I'm gonna switch from that 2 blade to the 1. We will actually close it so it's as short as you can get with the 1 right now. And what we're gonna do now is really kind of the important part. And so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on what we're doing here. But, ooh. Yeah. Okay, so what we need to do now is trim this part down here with the shortest line that we have, and we're going to bring it all the way up to a hard line. Now that looks like it's wrong when you initially start doing this, but just bear with me. I'm going to come around here, bring him up to that hard line. See, I missed some stuff, so I'm going to hold his ear, bring it up to a hard line. So with this blade, even with this, there's a very, very thin chance that you cut somebody, but you can see spots like, you know, where you pull, if the ear has some skin like that, if you happen to cut down into it and the skin gets between these, then you can actually cut people. When you take the guard off, similar situation, but even more likely. So when Matt's gotten cut in the past, it's been when I had no guard on, when we're doing like a real tight haircut. Okay, so we have our hard line, and then when we get to the back, we're just going to bring that line down a little bit. Not a lot. We're bringing it up to right where the head naturally kind of rounds. And we'll focus on, we'll do like a last cleanup of this stuff down here, so you don't have to worry too much about that right now. Just turning them as I go. I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to come over to the other side, and we're going to work on the other side now so we can get that just right. Okay. And if your kids are squirmers, this is the time for them to really hold still so that they so that we don't goof up their hair or accidentally cut them. Again, straight line. Start to bring it down just a little bit. And connect it up. All right, let's see how we're doing. Straight line, looks nice. Straight line, looks nice. Okay, so now obviously we can't send Matt out with the straight line going through this, so this is where we're gonna fade. Fading is actually pretty fun. It's kind of like blending with pencils, but basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the razor, and as we're gonna come up to the spot and then roll it up. And as we roll it up, the hair is gonna get further and further away from the blade, which will let it get longer. And so you get into this rhythm of just doing that with your wrist. To get up there. And you can hear it where it hits the hairs. And so you sort of get this rhythm with your hand rolling and fading. and with the sound of the hairs, where you're chopping off just a little bit to kind of blur the line between those. Now I will say, I think this line could have been cleaner, so I'm going to clean that up before I fade. Okay, here we go. Clean it up. Okay, now I'm going to extend it out full. I'm going to do the same thing again. Just continuing that fade. All right, and then I did, when we were going, I saw a few little long hairs, so I'm gonna put that 2-blade on again. And again, I'm gonna extend that all the way out. And I'm just gonna go give them another quick once over for all the stuff at the top. So if we missed any scragglers, we get those. Okay, Matt, we are getting close, buddy. You almost done with your haircut? All right, so the last thing I'm going to do, and with Matt's, he likes to have a little bit of length because he likes to put some gel in it and style it. But for a lot of people, you may just want to go shorter. I'm going to give Matt an 8, which is the longest that I have everywhere except for the very front. He likes a little bit more length on the front so he can kind of spike it. So I'm going to give him an 8 everywhere except for that front, and then we're going to kind of fade that front up a little bit. All right, so put my hand over the front because I want to save that, but the rest of it, we are just taking down straight with an 8, working against the hair, against the natural grain of the hair. I'm going to go all directions. Slight adjustment there on the camera. Again, if you listen, you can hear when your trimmers are cutting and when they're not cutting, and so you kind of know once you've got the length about right, when you stop hearing that noise of the hair engaging with the trimmers. Okay, now for the front. Trick that I use with the front, and this is not how a barber would recommend you do it. They'd be using scissors at this point, but that's a little bit more skill than I have. So what I'll do is I'll just put a comb under it to give it a tiny bit more than what I had without it, and I'll go over it again. All right, now the final thing is zero guard. Take it all the way down to its minimum, and this is where we do the neckline cleanup. So you see down here there's these fuzzies, and so we're just going to go right in there and clean that up. And for this part, I'm actually going to take the bib off of Matt. It's out of the way. Go ahead and relax your shoulders, buddy, and look down. Okay, and again, if you keep this up against the skin, and you don't let the skin bunch up, he won't get cut. But if you let him shrug, or if you let the skin bunch up, you can get it in between these, and he can get hurt. So just be very careful with this part. Just cleaning it up. And especially with this haircut where we went so short, it's not going to matter too much how we do this. If you have a longer haircut, this is a much more careful task because this line will define a lot of how the hairstyle looks. All right, looking good. Okay, so now we'll do just a quick sample hairstyling, and then Matt's gonna take a shower or a bath to kind of get all the hair trimmings off. But real quickly to make sure everything looks right. That is my man's rough style. Hold on, let me see. Did I miss a spot right here? I did. Look at that. So that is why we have the sample styling. All right, that was 2. Where did I put my 2? I drop it on the floor. We're gonna go back to the 2 and pull that little bit off. All right, we'll double check it again. Looks nice. All right, so now Matt can wear his hair spiky. He can comb it over and style it like that. He's in pretty good shape. All right, buddy. We'll get you bathed and we'll show these guys your haircut after you style it after bath time. Thanks.